Yeah, hi guys. How na day? Yeah, this is Ezekweaili TV. Yeah, I hope everybody do okay. Please don't forget to share and subscribe my video. Yeah, I want make out this beautiful time to celebrate this special woman. Nobody than Dr. Mrs. Obiageli Ezekweaili. She is a special woman. This woman have contributed so much in our country, Nigeria. She is a big role model to our younger generation. She's a big role model to our women. She's a big role model to our girls. I want to say a big happy birthday to you and many more years ahead as you celebrate your 60th birthday today. May Almighty God continue to bless you. And please, I want you guys to take out your time, make una watch this little video and how she was brought up by her beautiful family, her beautiful parents. And I believe we have so much to learn from this. And because she's a big motivation to us, she has added so much in our life. And I believe she needs to be celebrated. Happy birthday, ma. Happy birthday, Dr. Mrs. Obiageli Obi Ezekweaili. Happy birthday to you. Many more years ahead. Please don't forget to share my video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ezekweaili TV. Enjoy this video.
Oh wow, I'm 60, and that's like incredible. I feel so elated.
The journey to 60 began on April 28, 1963, when Benjamin Ume Ujubwong and his wife, Cecilia Nwanyaka Dear Ume Ujubwong, welcomed a baby girl they named Obiageli Catherine Ngozi Ujubwong. Obi was raised under the watchful eyes of a loving mother and a doting father. Her father imprinted upon her the importance of values, knowledge, and a good name as crucial guiding principles needed to live a life of purpose and impact.
I had this really incredible father figure that told me when at 12 I said, why are we not like other countries that I see on television? Why are we so poor? And my father said that we are poor because these other countries have good leaders who are governing them well. That's the problem that we have. So I said to my dad, when I grow up, I will make sure that they govern the country well. And my dad says, Ogeli carries me, throws me up. My father would say to us that our values must be non-negotiable. My dad framed his own quote, I serve, therefore I lead. So he would say, if you're going to lead, it's going to be because you serve. My mom made all the difference in my father's capacity to stay strong with his ideals.
Dr. Obi, known then as Kate Ume, attended United Christian Secondary School, UCSCC. She was known for her academic brilliance, debating prowess, and audacious nature. Obiageli Ezekweaili earned her undergraduate degree from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, in 1985, where she graduated as the top student in her class. After completing the National Youth Service Corps program in Imo State between 1985 and 1986, she pursued a master's degree at the University of Lagos in 1987. In 1988, she started her professional career as an audit trainee with Akintola Williams Deloitte and Touche, one of the big 5 accounting firms in Nigeria. She went on to qualify as a chartered accountant and was subsequently recruited as a manager in an investment company where she worked for Dr. Tim N. Menakaya, who later assumed the position of Minister of Health in Nigeria. What sets Dr. Obi apart is her unique ability to balance her private sector accomplishments with an unwavering commitment to public issues. While working for Akintola Williams Deloitte and Touche, Dr. Obi married her heartthrob, Pastor Chinedu Ezekweaili. The couple is blessed with amazing sons. Their twins, Chuba and Chinemelum, are artists, designers, and philosophers of nature. And their younger brother, Chidera, is the operations lead across their ventures.
Pastor accompanied me to a speaking engagement that I had in a church in Washington, D.C. They left me at some point, asked Pastor to take some questions. And this person said to Pastor that, what does it feel like to be married to Obi Ezekweaili? I mean, like, we all know her, the dreaded Madam Due Process. Pastor got up to answer the question, placed his hand on my head and said, are you talking about my baby? That was all they needed to know. And he said, all these things don't matter to us. We are a family. We are together on a journey.
During the early 1990s, alongside her professional career, Dr. Obi actively pursued her passion for good governance by participating in civil society activities. As one of the youngest co-founders and pioneer directors for Africa on the board of Transparency International in Berlin, Germany, she played an instrumental role in designing the flagship Corruption Perception Index, an annual global index that ranks countries based on their corruption levels. In addition to this, Dr. Obi served as a steering committee member and later chairperson of Concerned Professionals, a group led by Professor Pat Utomi, which campaigned for the restoration of democracy and good governance during the IBB Abacha military dictatorship. She was also a member of the Board of Integrity, an organization that advances integrity in public and private sector interactions.
The annulment of the 1993 elections, at which many of my generation voted for the first time, just triggered this agitation. As chair of Concerned Professionals, we decided that we would hold a watching brief, the court case of MK Abiola. And Kudirat would go to court, would have someone representing our group. It was on my way there that the then acting High Commissioner for Canada called me and said, don't go further. Kudirat had been killed on Third Mainland Bridge. My mom was really shaken by that event. So it was a tough period. We lost people in civil society. I left the country.
Through the support of her mentor, Baroness Shirley Williams, and a stroke of divine favor and direction, Dr. Obi attended the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University, where she earned a master's in public policy and administration. After her studies, she began working for the renowned economist, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, director of the Harvard Center for International Development, where she led the Harvard Nigeria Economic Strategy Program and provided support in the design of economic development and debt reduction strategy to the newly democratic government of Nigeria. It was in that capacity she began the public procurement reform in Nigeria. At the request of President Obasanjo in 1999, Dr. Obiageli Ezekweaili returned to Nigeria at the end of 2000 to serve her nation. During her time in government, she led the Price Intelligence Unit, PIU, later known as the Due Process Office. She was chairperson of NAITI, Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, and she was a key member of the government's economic team. Dr. Obi then served as a federal minister of solid minerals and later as a federal minister of education.
Some contracts we would save the government more than 5 billion naira in inflated cost in one project. The due process work cut them back to size. And when the president had sent me to Ministry of Minerals, the legislation I inherited, had the minister shall. So I decided to do a law that removed all those powers from the minister. We set up what we call the Mining Cadastral Office, and it was a technology-powered system. So I went to education to look at the investment in physical infrastructure, the governance issues, the equity issues, teacher quality, availability, as well as, of course, the teaching method. You have to look at instructional matters, you have to look at evaluation issues, you have to look at financing.
Before completing her term as Minister of Education, Dr. Obi was competitively selected to serve as the Vice President for the Africa region at the World Bank, beginning in May 2007. During her tenure, which lasted until May 2012, she supervised the bank's operations across 48 sub-Saharan African countries. In this role, she managed a lending portfolio exceeding $40 billion and led teams responsible for producing over 150 analytical studies annually across various sectors of the economy. Notably, Dr. Obi holds the distinction of being the first external candidate appointed as Vice President of the African region at the World Bank. She was also the first and only woman Vice President to oversee the bank's extensive operations in Africa. She ran the largest department with more than 2,000 staff under her leadership.
My time at the World Bank, I prioritized the smaller countries in Africa. I prioritized the conflict-affected countries in Africa. I prioritized the countries, the slow-growing countries, and often the small and the landlocked countries and fragile countries had similar kinds of issues. So I prioritized those countries that were most vulnerable to shocks that made them that caused them to be trapped in low equilibrium growth. And then I prioritized the countries like Nigeria and South Africa, which when they grew, it had a salubrious effect on the growth of the rest of the continent.
Former President of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, in his tribute to Dr. Obi, shared the following: Obi Ezekweaili is like a daughter to me. Even when she was a minister, I treated her the same way I treated my biological daughters. I recall when Obi informed me that she was given a job at the World Bank. I didn't want her to go because I needed her. But then I said to myself, let her go. It may be part of Nigeria's contribution to global development, especially in Africa. And she went on to the World Bank and did her best. She was, for me, one of the best from Africa. End of quote. Dr. Obi retired from her position at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. in 2012 to rejoin her family in Abuja. She became a senior economic advisor for the Open Society Foundation in New York, but operating from Abuja while traveling to various countries where she was an advisor to presidents and their cabinets on the design and implementation of economic and human development strategies. On the night of April 14-15 in 2014, Boko Haram, an Islamic terrorist group, kidnapped 276 female students aged 16 to 18 from the government girls' secondary school in Chibok, Borno State, Nigeria. Dr. Obi co-convened the viral citizens' advocacy for the kidnapped Chibok girls due to her burden and anger at the then government's apathy, which denied the incident ever occurred and failed to take the immediate action that could have rescued the innocent schoolgirls.
If we did not stand out there for those girls, they would have just been history. They would have been history. Some others said, are you sure there are any girls abducted in the first place? Others said, the reason you're doing it is to get attention. I'm thinking, get attention. What attention does an obvious person need again in life? Attention for what? What did I need? Some said, it's because Jonathan did not make her a minister. I'm thinking, are they okay? So people had their various things that they were saying. But one thing kept me. It was the fact that if any of those girls had been the children of the middle class, the politically connected, the powerful in this country, they would not have been treated the way they were being treated.
Her reaction to the failures of 2 consecutive governments to rescue the Chibok girls was to run for office in the 2019 general election, despite her well-known aversion to politics. Her decision also served as a signal to encourage unconventional and non-professional politicians to consider entering politics as a means to serve the people. Her presidential campaign was gaining traction until there was a clash between her party and Dr. Ezekweaili over matters of values. On January 24, 2019, she announced a withdrawal from the presidential election. Dr. Obi spent time reflecting deeply on her previous efforts to promote a just and inclusive Nigeria and Africa. This led her to pursue research. She was awarded the prestigious Richard von Weizsäcker Fellowship at the Bosch Academy in Berlin, and with the encouragement of her husband and mother, accepted the fellowship opportunity. Her groundbreaking research culminated in the development of her well-known concept, the triangular pillars of democracy, aimed at rectifying distortions within democracies. She then established a community of practice consisting of 120 individuals from the public sector, civil society, and private sector, and across all regions of Nigeria and the diaspora, who collaborated to implement the findings of her fixed politics research. After her mother passed away in 2020, Dr. Obi became even more determined to transplant the transformation she observed in other countries to Nigeria. She believed this could be achieved by fixing the political system primarily through policy reform and good governance. After extensive discussions and consultations with like-minded individuals, both within and outside Nigeria, the group recognized the urgent need for a solid response to the leadership deficit in Nigeria and Africa. This realization led to the creation of Fixed Politics.
That research work on fixing politics that I did that then propelled me to build this community of people that belong to the Fixed Politics community. Our programs around the Office of the Citizen and community organizing, we are getting the citizens to really take their place. You can see how actively the Nigerian citizens have become. We saw it in the last election. And then the supply side activities were the training of a massive number of new political leaders through the School of Politics, Policy and Governance. We're going to expand it across Africa. The Senegal school is starting soon this year. By the time you are trained in the SPPG, you come out with character, competence and capacity, ready to serve in order to lead. The Nigerian school has already produced cohorts. The pioneer class, 160 people, political leaders, new political leaders for Nigeria. This class of 2022, we produced 134 new political leaders for Nigeria. The current class in session, class of 2023, there are over 200 of them in the class. Somebody said, Obi, you're multiplying yourself. He said, there is no greater mentorship you could have provided than to establish this kind of top quality, public leadership programs.
Following her tenure in government and the World Bank, Dr. Obi has built an illustrious career, holding positions on numerous boards across various organizations. She was a board member for Bharti Airtel in India, a director of the World Wildlife Fund, WWF, in Switzerland, a director of the Harold Hartog School of Government and Policy at Tel Aviv University. She was a co-chair of the Africa Regional Strategy Board of the World Economic Forum, Switzerland. She was an advisory board member of the Center for Global Leadership at Tufts University in Boston and other national and international organizations. She was a member of the board for the Central European University School of Public Policy in Budapest, Hungary. She is a commissioner of the Global Ocean Commission and a member of the Global Advisory Board for Facebook's Community Leadership Program. She currently serves on over 25 global boards, some of which are Nexford University, member of the Board of Trustees for FDC, Fondasao Don Cabral. She's a council member for Bayer Foundation's Social Innovation Council. She's a Hertie School Working Group member on Responsible Leadership for Club de Madrid. She's a member of the UN Refugee Agency's Advisory Group on Gender, Forced Displacement and Protection. She's a chair of the Women Political Leaders WPL at Brussels, Belgium. She's a global advisory board member for the Archbishop Tutu Fellowship at the African Leadership Institute in South Africa. Dr. Obi has also been decorated with several awards nationally, continentally, and globally. She was awarded Minister of the Year by This Day newspapers. She was also awarded Person of the Year by Sun newspaper. She is a recipient of the Robert F. Kennedy Award of Excellence in Public Service from the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. She's a recipient of the Mother Teresa Memorial Award for Social Justice 2018 by Harmony Foundation in India. She's one of the Albert Einstein Foundation's Genius 100 Visionary Thinkers. She's been listed as one of Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People and the New York Times' 25 Women of Impact in 2015. She was on the Peace Research Institute's list of potential names for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2018. She is a Richard von Weizsäcker Fellow at the Bosch Academy in Berlin and a Senior Jackson Fellow at Yale University. She was the first woman to be awarded the national honor of Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic by the government of President Olusegun Obasanjo in 2006. In 2023, she was appointed by President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine as ambassador of the Ukraine government's Grain from Ukraine program. Dr. Obi is a senior advisor at the Africa Economic Development Policy Initiative. She is the founder and president of Human Capital Africa. She founded the Fixed Politics School of Politics, Policy and Governance, SPPG.
50 years after her conversation with her father on fixing Nigeria's governance issues, Dr. Obiageli Ezekweaili continues to be a protagonist for good governance in Nigeria and across Africa. Ezekweaili remains a consistent fighter for justice, inclusion, growth, development, prosperity, and stability in Africa. Her story is incredible. She's a woman of incomparable faith who believes that God divinely designed and gave her enormous grace for a purposeful life, blessed her with a purpose-guiding and unforgettable father and mother, guided her into marriage with a kingdom-minded husband who champions her growth, blessed her with purpose-supportive children, siblings, closest friends, and key mentors who have remained part of her life as she celebrates her 60th. Ezekweaili has only but the deepest gratitude for them all.
The joy of being 60 comes from the knowledge of how so rich in human experience my life has been. There is this privilege that I have had, and through the goodness of God.